Hey, I'm the Rec Guy, and today we'll talk about builds. More specifically, the builds I recommend for most people. I'll cover Bruiser, Lethality, and Crit builds with a main focus on the Bruiser build. That includes a bit on how to execute plays on each build, as well as some situational options you may like. The thing is, when it comes to build choice, the one that you like is the one you should go. We could go through the numbers, but at the end of the day, what you find success with is what you find success with. My goal is just going to be to give you the tools to make your own decisions. And with that, let's begin. If you ask me, I'll always say that the most important thing in a build for me is agency. I want to be able to control the pace of the game as directly as possible if I want to climb. In my opinion, the Bruiser build is built for that in the majority of games. It allows you to stay relevant in extended fights, and it also gives you the freedom to engage for your team while remaining alive after the fact. For runes, I start with Conqueror. Rek'Sai's full combo allows you to get her Conqueror stacks up really fast, since as a champion with two forms, she just has more abilities than most other champions. For the secondary runes, I go Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace pretty much as the only choices, since I feel like they're most aligned with Rek'Sai's kit. On the secondary tree, it's a no-brainer for me to go Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. Magical Footwear is great. It lets you build your core items faster while also letting you delay your boots upgrade since you gain a little bit of extra move speed. And Cosmic Insight is really good on Rek'Sai. The way you need to look at it is one flash equals one kill, and so getting your flash up faster means just more kills. Now let's take a look at some of the items in the build. The core item of the build, and what you'll be building first, is Stridebreaker. She of course benefits from the AD, HP, and attack speed it gives, but I want to speak briefly on how to actually use Stride. Really, there's two sides to it, engage and disengage. For the engage, first, Rek'Sai is super dependent on her ability to get on top of enemies. You want to be able to knock them up and combo them, right? And since Stride doesn't interrupt her own movement while slowing the enemy and giving you movement speed for targets hit, it's like the item was built for her. And for disengage, we can read the item. You'll see that for each enemy hit with Stride active, you'll gain even more movement speed. This makes for an insane disengage tool. If you go in, knock up multiple people for your team to follow up with their abilities, you can quickly Stridebreaker and peel out of there before they can punish you for being overextended. With that, the thing you need to understand is that you absolutely should not use Stride during your combo. If you're able to get onto someone, you'll want to mismatch your Stride slow and your knockup. That way, after they're done being knocked up, they'll still have the slow on them, allowing you to follow up with even more damage if needed. For my second item, I have a choice. I either go Black Cleaver or Spear of Shojin. Cleaver in the vast majority of the games, and only Shojin when I know the enemy team isn't going to be building any armor. That could be because either the enemy team is full of squishies, or because I'm the only AD damage on my team, meaning the enemy team will probably be stacking magic resist instead of armor. Usually after second full item is when I grab tier 2 boots. I delay them since I have magical footwear, and frankly, getting your full item spikes is generally way more important. If I have the goal to buy full items later, I might even delay it until after third item, but usually this only happens when I'm really ahead. Third item is always Sterak's. This item spike feels amazing on Rek'Sai. It makes your engage way safer since you can always rely on that massive shield to escape. On the Bruiser build, even if they're full magic damage, I'll never recommend trading Sterak's for Maw of Mortis. The shield you get from Sterak's, with all the bonus health your items have, scales really well, while Maw just scales off bonus AD. That means that the shield you get from Sterak's can be as much as twice the size, while blocking both damage types instead of just magic damage. Finally, your last two items are going to depend on the enemy team comp. By default, I tend to lean toward Death Stance. It gives you that survivability into the late game. But if you feel like you need MR, building Spirit Visage is a great idea. If you have a ton of shields, you can consider Serpent's Fang. If they have a ton of crit, you can build Randuin's. Or if they're just heavy AD in general, you can get the Rare Thornmail. You'll probably notice that I have the last two items as tanky rather than damage, and that's just because if you're that far into the late game, your damage really falls off. It's usually better to transition into a CC tool for your team, where survivability is essential. Now let's take a look at the Lethality build, which I'm just going to say straight up, super fun. One-shotting people in game is always going to be a good time, but it really requires you to get ahead and stay ahead, so it's not nearly as forgiving, and it really falls off in a tankier comps. I don't recommend Halo Blades, as Rek'Sai's full combo already uses auto-cancels. If you do it properly, you don't need Halo Blades to get through the combo. It feels a bit like a crutch if you're not consistently able to do the combo. That's why we'll be sticking with Conquer even in Lethality, but we'll be changing Cosmic Insight and Magical Footwear to Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking. You'll notice how the runes and the items, like Ghostblade, have an emphasis on gap closing. You absolutely need ways to get onto enemies with lethality. or since you're so squishy, you'll just get killed and kited before you can even do anything. Briefly, crit is going to be a similar playstyle to lethality, but this is much more for fun in my opinion. I really don't find it viable to climb with, it's just a good time. And finally, the last build is going to be Titanic Hydra into tank, which I don't love. The only time I'd ever recommend it is if your team really needs a frontline, like if you have 3 DPS champs and an enchant in your team, and your team needs a second support. It's team reliant, which for me excludes it from my solo queue games. I would, however, recommend it if you're going Rek'Sai top. If you're interested in that, I suggest you just check out Queen Xerxai's channel, Hyla Rek'Sai top, who I'm sure would be happy to answer any questions. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll be sure to get to anything I can. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and you can always find me on Twitch, Thursday through Saturday. Have a good one.